welcome to our brand new show. Where you learn how to make dishes you know, when you're walking down the street and the window's open and you can smell something good. Make one ethnic background, but completely new to those of another. This show brings together the flavors of the colorful city we live in. We're also going to be visiting some of Montreal's top restaurants and cool food spots, as well as multicultural festivals, and gardening tips, as well as nutritional facts. All that and lots more. But let's not sway from our main purpose of the show. Lots of home-cooked meals. We're actually going to be the guests in our guest chefs' homes. We're going to be preparing a so you're going to be seeing many kitchens and homes, from big and elegant to small, cozy, and charming. Everyone with their unique taste and anything they have to offer will bring in their own flavor to our show. So sit back, enjoy the world, live our world. Today's show is brought to you by Athletic Association ELAS. Thank you for sponsoring our show. In a beautiful home in East Laval, today we're making dessert. So let's get to it. Today we're going to learn how to make a dessert that I think is going to become one of my favorites, because I see that there's some chocolate and cocoa involved. But to help us make this dessert, and the person who found this recipe for us is beautiful Christina, who's having us in her home today in Laval. So I'm very happy to have you with us here today.
Pleasure. I'm glad you guys came.
Yeah, I feel so happy to be here, and you have a beautiful home. You have a lot of taste in decor, and that's like an art. So I feel like
come over anytime.
Great, I plan to. Don't say that, because I'll take it for real, you know. Anyway, it's an artistic thing, you know, and I find that baking, which is one of my passions, is also sort of an art. So what are you going to make for us today?
So today we're going to make a dessert. Actually, it was my really good friend and Kubara of mine who gave me the recipe.
Okay.
It's a chocolate mousse pie, and it's great for all those vegans or anybody who's fasting during Easter period. It's a really great dessert. You would never realize that there's no eggs or dairy in it. And I think you'll really enjoy it.
I see one of the key ingredients must be the avocado, which will add to the texture of the dessert, right?
It's going to make it nice, rich, and thick.
So you heard it, a great recipe for vegans and also people that tend to fast, like Greek people during you know, Easter time or any other religious holiday. It's a great option for people, and you don't feel like you're missing. If you have a sweet tooth, you get to have something really nice.
It's definitely sweet enough.
Okay, so maybe we could talk about the ingredients.
Okay. So we're going to start off by making the crust. The crust, we need half a cup of cashews, half a cup of almonds, a pinch of salt. So just a pinch of this.
Just a pinch, not the whole thing,
No,
right?
not the whole thing, just a pinch.
All right.
You can put a tablespoon of maple syrup. Adds great flavor and helps bind together.
A good maple syrup.
And 2 tablespoons of coconut oil.
All right. I never use this.
Any brand is fine. You can usually find it in your local grocery store. If not, sometimes it's in the health food section.
What does coconut oil do actually for
it
crust?
adds as a supplement. It's like as though you were using margarine, but it really helps keep the nuts together to make the crust.
Okay.
Whereas margarine, if you try, it won't stick as well. So your crust, when you cut it, even though you let it cool, because it's supposed to stay an hour in the fridge, it's going to fall apart when you cut it.
Okay, so it puts it together. I think there must be some great, you know, things about like in the ingredients. It must be good for you, coconut.
Yeah.
I got to read up on that. I don't know if you know any of the...
Yeah, and I know a lot of people use coconut oil instead of other things. They say it's a good...
a healthier option?
Exactly.
That's great. Now for the filling, what do we need to make our wonderful
so for the
filling?
filling, we're going to use 2 ripe avocados. The recipe calls for 1 ripe banana, but I find 1.5 gives a nice flavor. It's a little sweeter, but it's a natural sweetness. But it's up to you.
They should be quite ripe, right? For any kind of dessert, right?
Exactly. That's why they're brown. So then we're going to use a 1/4 cup of honey, which is natural sugar. It makes it really sweet and it's really tasty. You can use any kind of honey.
So we're using maple syrup for the crust and then some honey for the filling. It's going to be quite sweet.
If you prefer, you can use less honey. What's good about this recipe is it's really like made to taste. So as you're making the filling, you could taste it if you like it sweeter, if you want to add something different. They require just a little bit of cinnamon, but that's for flavor. So it's really if you like the cinnamon or not. A little bit of half a teaspoon of vanilla extracts gives like that nice vanilla flavor, and a 1/4 cup of raw cocoa powder.
That's great.
Which will give that chocolate color and flavor. But at least it's not like using milk when you're having regular chocolate.
Just a question about the avocados. How do you know when they're like ripe? This would be like really ripe and soft?
Yeah, well, not too soft that they're brown and mushy inside because they'll be rotten, but soft enough you see that they're dark, but when you feel them, they're soft, but they're not going to melt in your hands.
Okay, so they're not too soft, but you can feel it. All right, sounds good.
Okay, and then that's at the end, we're just going to decorate with a strawberry and a little sprig of mint. Or you can always put powdered sugar. It really depends on how you like decorating. Slithered almonds is nice if you want to roast almonds in the oven. Just the slithers and just to sprinkle it on top.
And we have some options for presentation as well that we might show towards the end, right? Okay, Christina, so I guess we're going to start with the crust, right? That's the first step. Let's make the crust.
We're going to start with the crust because then we have to put it in the fridge to let it sit for an hour so it can get hard enough so that when you put the chocolate inside, it doesn't get mushy.
Yeah, so fall apart, I guess.
We're going to start with, in a food processor, if you don't have a food processor, you can use a blender. The only thing is that because there's nuts, if you're going to use a blender, put them slowly so that it grinds because you have to get it to a granular feeling, like very powdery.
Okay, yeah.
So we're going to start with the cashews. I'm using a food processor, but anything, even if you have a hand blender, is fine.
Would other nuts be an option, or are these really the ones that you need?
I mean, this is what the recipe calls for, but I'm sure anything's great. Like pecans is always great in desserts.
We love that.
This particular recipe is cashew and almonds. It actually gives a really nice mix of flavor.
You know, they're also more oily, I think, as nuts, right?
I think that's why it's good because it helps stick together.
Yeah.
So right now I have the nuts in the food processor. I put it on high so that we can get a good consistency and that it really grinds well. You see, so it's almost ready.
It's almost looking like a great ham crust, you know?
Exactly.
You wouldn't expect it to give such a texture.
I think that's perfect.
Because look, it's really fine. It looks really nice, almost like a Graham crust. I really like it.
So as you can see here, the texture is very granular and nice and soft. If you like, you can always leave it, I guess, a little thicker if you want it more of a crunch in your crust.
Sure.
But I mean, the recipe calls for it to be granular. It's going to help stick better with the coconut oil.
Yeah, it's going to make for a very, very nice pie crust, I can tell.
So now what we're going to do is we're going to add 2 tablespoons of coconut oil. That's about 1.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's 2 tablespoons of coconut oil.
That's great.
Put this aside. It's always good to have a little dish next to you so you don't make a mess.
It's also a very nice color. I really like the color of the crust. It's looking good because you have the darker and the lighter nut and the way it looks together.
Yeah. And then it asks for half a teaspoon of vanilla extracts. You can always put a little more if you like it.
It's pretty strong,
at the end of the day, I mean, this kind of, it's strong, but it's a nice flavor, I find.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, when you have recipes, as long as you're not changing something major, so you can always tweak things around to your flavor. It requires a pinch of salt. Just a little bit, not too much. The pinch of salt will add the flavor and also brings out the sweetness when we add the maple syrup.
So would this amount fill like a standard size pie plate or a 9-inch pie plate?
Yeah, this one here is great for these disposable ones. It's great if you want to bring this to somebody's house. They can throw it out after. It's really good because it bends, so then you'll be able to really get the crust out in case you didn't do such a good job at mixing things well.
Really, nothing like a good old pie to bring to a home, you know, that you made yourself.
Especially now during the Easter holidays, if you want to bring a dessert to somebody, it's something really sweet, they'll enjoy it, and everybody at the table can eat it.
Yeah.
Also, you can do little ones, like let's say you want to make little mini ones. Okay. So the recipe here will is enough to make 1 pie crust like that. You'll see when we take it out, you'll ask yourself, it doesn't seem like there's a lot, but what we really have to do is flatten it out and put it all around the corner. So
like
we'll
the
do
edges
that.
too, right?
Exactly.
Okay, great.
If not, I had an idea that what you could do is, let's say you have guests over and you want to make it a little fancier, you can always get a nice martini glass or something you like. fill it all the way to the top, and then put your mousse, which we're gonna do after, to the higher up. If you want put a little whipped cream.
You mean you'd put the crust all the way up?
You'd put the crust all the way till the rim.
Okay.
And then have the chocolate coming up. Like I said, if you have people who are not fasting, you want to add a bit of whipped cream, some strawberries, a little bit.
You know, the crust is a really essential part for me in a cake, either a cheesecake or any type of dessert, like a pie like that, you know, and it's, you know, it needs to be filled to the top, I think, because it's equally tasty. As much as the filling is, it also plays a very good role in a well-made dessert. That's what I believe. So that's great. I've done that trick with tiramisu as well, and I think it looks really, it's a beautiful way to present.
And I'm sure this would be a great recipe even to make a cheesecake for the crust.
Yeah, great.
So we're gonna add the last ingredient, which is maple syrup. Any kind will do, something rich and sweet. You only put 1 tablespoon.
That's where I would go with 2, because I love
You have to be careful. If you make
syrup.
it too mushy, then it might not dry properly, and then it will work against your
rest. Yeah, it will work
exactly.
against me. Too bad.
Okay, so we're gonna put it back on.
Okay.
More ingredients over, and we're gonna pulsate it again.
At high.
We're gonna try it on high. Okay, so we're gonna pulse on high to make sure everything gets mixed well.
So it gets darker and darker as it's
Yeah, that's the maple syrup.
Okay.
And you see now it's becoming more like a dough.
Yeah, so it'll be more moldable, right?
We'll put it on low just so it mixes well, and I'm just gonna stop it for a second and mix everything.
Awesome, great.
See, it's becoming nice and sticky. The point is to get a nice sticky dough.
Yeah.
Just mix it just a little more.
Is this a no-bake recipe, or would you put the crust in the oven for a little bit?
Once we prepare the crust in the dish, we're gonna put it in the fridge for an hour. And then once the crust is dry enough so that it doesn't get too soft with the chocolate mousse, you're gonna fill it, and it's just a matter of decorating. It's a no-bake, so it's quite simple.
So simple, yeah.
So we're gonna remove this. Put this on the side.
It smells so good already. You can
Yeah, it's all the
an
nuts.
idea. Oh,
The nuts and the maple syrup. You can't go wrong.
That. Great, yeah.
Almonds, cashews, I mean all the best ingredients.
All the good stuff, yeah. We didn't say anything about the recipe being a little fat. We just said it's vegan.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, there's fruits and
But it's
there's
healthy,
nuts.
yeah.
There's no dairy, but there's a lot of protein in the nuts.
Exactly. It's
And
a
you're not
good
gonna eat the
fat.
whole pie, right? So.
Well, speak
mean,
for
you
yourself.
could.
I don't know. I think I can handle it.
Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and fill this.
Okay. Do you need my assistance? Or should I just
Sure,
put it in
if
the
you want to
pie?
go ahead. I'll hold
I'll
it for
do
you.
that. You don't just dump it all in, do you?
Yeah, that's fine. And then we're gonna use the spatula to pattern it out.
Okay.
And then just use our hands to mold it.
Let me get this out of there. Oh God, I'm making a mess because I'm not getting a good view. How about you finish it off for me? There we go.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So get every last bit. You don't want to waste any of this. There you go.
I see Hermal back there ready to just jump in, huh? But you gotta wait. It won't take that long. It's a no-bake, we said, so just the hour for the crust and then. So I see that we've put it right into the dish. We didn't need to, spray some
No, I mean,
oil
I think there's plenty of oil from the nuts and from the coconut oil, and everything's blended really well. And because you don't need to bake it, you're not worried about anything sticking.
Okay, perfect. So it'll come out nicely in one piece, I'm assuming, at the end.
Exactly. Well, that's the plan.
That's the plan. We'll see.
Now, I mean, you're going to use your hands.
Go
We've
ahead.
already washed ours, but always make sure to wash your hands before you touch any ingredients.
Yeah.
And you just really pat it out, even though it looks like it's not a lot, but when you pat it out evenly.
I really can't believe this is just, you see, like 2 kinds of nuts and a few ingredients, and this is what it really turns out to look like. I mean,
Just
fasting or not, you know what I mean? There's no reason to
it's
not
a
make
really
this.
great dessert. Like I said, it was my Cubara who introduced me. She makes a lot of really good recipes, and she's like my Martha Stewart idol. And I find it's a really great way to have a great dessert and not have to worry.
Yeah.
Especially during fasting. I mean, if you're going to fast and you give up milk and meat and everything,
It's like a period of Lent.
It's a little
for
piece
Greeks.
of heaven,
Yeah. It almost feels too good to be true. Huh?
So just make sure that it's evenly fixed all around and that you get the crust all the way to the top. Also for presentation, and also when someone takes a piece, you don't want them to just get the chocolate pudding.
Have you ever made this for family before or for anyone? Or?
Yeah, actually this week I made it
Uh-huh.
for my grandmother who's fasting as well. And they really liked it, so I said it would be a great idea
So it's good
to
reviews.
share this with other people.
Yeah.
There we go. So as long as you get all the corners evenly and that the bottom is evenly pushed out and that it's not too thin on one side and too thick on the other. Okay, so we're gonna put this in the fridge for an hour. The recipe says about an hour. You can leave it a little less, but it's really just to make sure that it's firm enough so it doesn't fall apart when you cut it.
Okay.
In the meanwhile, we'll go ahead and start with the filling.
The filling, sure. Go ahead and put it in the fridge. So as you might have guessed, Christina is of Greek origin, right? So, and I know that you've found this recipe. Is it because you fast or you use it while you're fasting?
I fast, and so like I was telling you, my kubara always tries to come up with good Greek desserts for me. And she gave me this recipe during my fasting, but because I like it so much, I'm going to use it throughout the year.
Okay, so for our friends that don't maybe understand the concept of fasting, it's done typically in the Greek Orthodox religion. What kind of things do we give up when we're fasting?
Depends on the person, but anything.
Like a
some
milk
people
product?
just choose to give up milk or meat. Some people choose to give up certain things they do.
Yeah.
When I fast, I give up everything, so I become vegan for the full period of Lent.
Okay.
But everyone has their different ways of doing it. So for me, like I said, this is a great idea. But a lot of people nowadays are trying to become more health conscious, and they're gearing more towards to becoming a vegetarian or a vegan. So that's why I think it's a great idea to share this recipe with everyone.
For sure, it's also lighter recipe and everything. But do you do this? Do you use it? I was going to go back to the concept of fasting, but at Christmas time, and also we do it like for in the 15th of August, which is another Greek holiday. Do you typically do that? Like you follow?
Well, starting from now, I'll start using it.
Okay, it's a way to encourage people to fast. Here you go. You're going to try a great dessert. Okay, so now we're going to do the filling.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're going to start off with 2 ripe avocados. Like we said, you can tell they're ripe because they're dark. A little trick is that you just cut all around.
Yes.
Okay. And then you're able to peel it off, because if not, avocados can be a tricky thing to peel.
Yeah.
There you go. So it comes off in basically one piece.
Yeah, you're doing it really well. It's maintaining its shape.
Okay. Nice. You see, nice and green. So do that to both of them. And what's great is for parents who have children and kids who love chocolate, and you want to give them something else to eat instead of their typical Oreos and garbage, you can go ahead and make something like this, and they'll never, as long as you blend it properly, they'll have no idea that it's made of bananas.
And you know what you're putting in it, right?
Exactly.
So the ingredients that are in there, and they're good for you. So instead of buying something out there.
I mean, avocados you can get any time of year. Of course, when they're not in season, they could be a little more expensive. But there's always, they always go on sale. Okay. And then we're going to go ahead and take the bananas. The recipe calls for 1.
Okay.
The last time I made it, I put 1.5 and I liked it. So we'll do 1.5. Just going to chop it up here in the blender, in our food processor. I'll put the half as well. Why not?
That's going to add the sweetness too.
Yeah. Okay. And so for the avocado, you can go ahead and just trim it. Careful that there is a nut, so you don't want to cut too deep.
Okay. Yeah, we use avocado a lot in my family. I love it in the salad and just
It's great in a salad, in a sandwich, guacamole.
Oh, awesome.
You have guests over, you don't know what to make, you make a quick guacamole with some nachos. And because it's a no-bake dessert, it's really like you could make it at any moment, as long as you have the ingredients in your cupboard, which most of them I think people have. Just the avocados you might have to run out and buy.
I see like a nut or something here. Is it?
That's just from the avocado.
Yeah, perfect.
There we go. Perfect. So we added the bananas and the avocado. Because that's quite thick, we're going to go ahead and start pulsing that first.
At low or high?
Yeah, we could go on high.
Okay.
can always add a bit of milk and make it a nice smoothie.
Yeah.
So,
great.
see the nice rich color? So now we're going to go ahead and add the rest of the ingredients. It says to add a cinnamon to your flavor as much as you like. So I'm just getting a little bit,
Like a
figure about a
teaspoon?
teaspoon or so. If you don't like cinnamon, that's fine. You don't need to add it. It doesn't really make a big difference in the recipe. A little pinch of salt. It'll
But
bring out the
cinnamon,
flavors.
cinnamon and chocolate go well together, I find. So
Yeah.
this would be a nice combination.
Okay, so this is a 1/4 cup of honey. If you're going to use the rich Greek honey, then just maybe don't put too much or taste it as you go along.
Oh, so when it's thicker, but would it be a good idea to maybe put it in a microwave for a little bit just so it could get a little more runny if you have a thick honey? Or does it really make a
in the
difference?
food processor, it's fine. If you're
It's
going to
gonna
use a
work well.
blender, you'll have to put things slowly. I tried it with the blender this week, and it was really thick. So if you're going to
Okay.
use a blender, you don't have a food processor, just start slowly. Do the avocados, then do the banana. Add things slowly, and add the honey at the end. Okay.
Well, you were saying this is it's a new appliance for you, and you're using it for the first time this one, and you're doing a very good job. I can
Thank
say
you.
that it's going
So
well.
we need a teaspoon of vanilla extract. So that's just a little bit. Like I said, also your flavor. If you like vanilla extracts, you can put it. If you don't worry. And lastly, the last ingredient we have to add is a 1/3 cup of raw cocoa powder. Most people have this when you're baking.
It's an essential ingredient if you're a
Yeah.
baker, for sure.
And you're thinking a 1/3 cup is a lot. It's actually bitter, so it's not a lot. It's not, cocoa powder is not sweet at all.
So this will turn out to be like a cream pie, I guess, huh?
Yeah. It's going to
Or
be
mousse pie.
like a mousse, like a pudding.
Okay.
So we're going to blend it together.
This is getting deep, like a deep dark chocolate color.
So we're just going to start it.
Oh, do you need a
We're
spatula?
going to use
I'm
the
moving.
spatula just to make sure that we get all the cocoa powder and that everything is mixed well. Whatever machine you use, just be careful you don't hurt yourself because the blades are sharp.
I'm already super excited. I love when we do dessert segments. I really encourage that.
By beating it for a longer amount of time, it's going to become thicker and more like a mousse. We also want to make sure that we chop up all the avocado.
Oh, I see. So basically you just look at the texture and you know how long to go. A couple of minutes. How many of you are just dying to lick this spatula right now and you have it in the back of your mind? You are, I know. But I won't do it
The
yet.
spatula maybe not because it's not all the mixed ingredients.
Oh, I don't mind.
We're just going to taste it to make sure that it's sweet enough before we go ahead and put it in the filling. Yep, it's great.
Success.
If you find it's not sweet enough, like I said, you add a bit of honey, a bit of maple syrup if you like. Keep beating it until it's ready to go. So this is ready to remove from the...
Look at this great color. Like, I'm a big fan of chocolate. Like, I think at least, I don't know, 99% of the population should be. And maybe I'm wrong, but I should be right. Beautiful color. Great. Nice chocolate.
So I didn't make it too sweet. It's I put a little extra cocoa powder for maybe some people don't like it that sweet. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and take the pie crust out of the fridge. It's been sitting for an hour. I prepared one in advance because it needed to sit in the fridge for about an hour to get hard enough. So as you can see, the texture is really good. It's ready to fill. I'm just gonna get the spatula and we're gonna go ahead and
I'll hold this distance.
don't want to waste any of the good chocolate.
Make sure you get it all in there. Oh, am I mumbling? Sorry. Make sure you get it all in there.
Yeah, there we go.
Great. You know, now you're just teasing us. It's like, okay, step by step, just twirling it, you know.
I just want to make sure
Yeah.
that all the ingredients were well mixed
Yeah.
and that there's no green. We don't want to see any avocado. Trick the kids into eating a healthy dessert.
Right. And the big
Okay.
kids as well.
So here we go. We're gonna fill it with the chocolate.
So I would say it's like a pudding pie, huh?
Yeah. Okay, so now you could just spread it like you like.
This is done here?
Yeah.
I'll just have to help you with that, excuse me. I was just dying to do that. All right, so now we're just spreading it.
Yeah, so I mean you could spread it around like you like.
Really
if you
nice.
want to make it look thicker or make a little
That's
swirl.
like a little trick by turning it round and round, right? Simple and quick.
There you go, and just a little.
Now, it's not really a vegan solution, but would you like to top that off with a whipped cream? You could if you wanted
so like
to, right?
I was telling you earlier, what's really nice is if you wanna take slithered almonds, it's the almonds that are cut really thinly.
Yes.
You put them in the oven, you just roast them for a couple of minutes that they get brown, and you just sprinkle those on top. If you like powdered sugar, what I thought about doing is like, let's just
Finish that too.
don't want to waste any of that. Okay, so now once the pie is done, as you can see, it's been filled, the chocolate filling is there. I thought, like the different options I told you, if not, what's always nice is you take a little sprig of fresh mint.
Oh wow,
gives
it
a nice
smells so strong. It's
Because
good.
of the difference of color, you know, you want to put something in the middle like that.
Presentation,
Yeah, or if not, you can always just like slice up a little strawberry and then either put some little strawberries around or something. Just to
that's
give
just
a little decoration,
So pretty.
give a little bit of color.
So there you have it, a wonderful chocolate mousse pie, beautifully decorated and just ready for us to try it and just eat the whole thing, I think, one shot. Thank you so much, Christina.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
It was a great recipe.
I had a great time.
You were, you know what, very organized, and you have a beautiful home, and
Thank
I
you.
really appreciate that. Any moment that you give to us and you share it with the viewers, your recipe, I think it's a great one for us, and that's the whole purpose of our show. Thank you for being with us, and I hope we see you again soon.
For sure. Thank you.
Okay, great. So now we're gonna try this pie. Mwah. Thank you for watching, guys. We'll see you again next time.